Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to Mobile App Academy, where we show you how to build and configure mobile apps live on the Now platform. My name is Charlie Steiner, and I'd love to welcome you all back to the new year. And I was not on last week, so it's wonderful to see all you in the chat again. And if you're joining us today for the first time, we'd love to just talk a little bit about Mobile App Academy, which is a live building series that focuses on managing and building out mobile apps in real time. We have product experts on hand to provide guidance, best practices, and answer any of your questions in the chat. So we host these sessions every 2 weeks on Zoom at 10 a.m. Pacific, and the recordings will be posted to our YouTube playlist on Thursday mornings of the same week. So be sure to check out that later this week, and I'll post that link in the chat. And today, before we get into anything else, just a teaser of what's upcoming. David will walk you through how to jumpstart your classic migration to our modern and native mobile app ahead of the planned deprecation for our mobile classic app later this year. Stay tuned for that. But before we get started, I do want to walk you through a few additional resources we have on our mobile community. So be sure to check out all of our guidebooks, self-enablement resources, white papers, best practices, walkthroughs that we have that were updated for Rome and that will be updated later this year as well for San Diego. And there you can find a plethora of other resources like Now Learning trainings on our .com page, customer success resources. And on the right side of your screen, I do want to call out our Mobile App Academy playlist on YouTube, where you can find other sessions like this, including deploying Now Mobile, how to get started with mobile card builder and user experience analytics, and our most recent session of 2 weeks ago, how to get started with Mobile App Builder, which is a brand new builder experience for mobile that was released in Rome. So do be sure to check those out. And like I said, I will put this link in the chat in a minute. Of course, we'd love for you to subscribe as well. So in case you miss a live session, you can get our notifications Thursday morning. And one more thing to note, if you enjoy this series, we do have a plethora of other academies across ServiceNow, including our teams in HR and Platform Foundation, which is a little bit more developer focused. Performance analytics and reporting and intelligence, and our sister team in virtual agents. So if you're interested in any of these academies, do be sure to check them out, show them some love, let them know you came from us, and we hope you enjoy them as well as you enjoy us. And to navigate to them, be sure to go to the community page, down the forums tab, and then you can find their academy page in their respective forum. With all that out of the way, love to hand it off to David Haw to take away today's session.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for the intro. Hello and welcome everyone to another Mobile App Academy. My name is David Haw and I will be your host for today. And to kick off today's academy, excuse me, it's going to be it's a topic that's going to be relevant to many. I'm seeing a lot of customers starting their mobile migration journeys. And so we felt it was ever so relevant to do a deep dive in jumpstarting your mobile classic migration. And this is going to be a really great quick start guide to folks who are new to mobile. We'll explore some common migration use cases. We're not going to be able to talk about everything today, just a few common use cases, but this will be about a 3 or 4 part series. Today, we're going to cover some basic fundamentals like data items, how to convert, some of your experiences from classic over to agent and so forth. And I'll share with you a few different options on, fastest path to migration, give you some options to decide from, and it will help you with your migration planning. But just to quickly review for today's schedule, this will be about a 30-40 minute session. We'll start off with a quick 10-minute overview. I'll share with you our goals for today, what we will implement, and then how to get started. And then we'll jump into the exercise. We'll cover some basics on what it's like to modify an out-of-the-box app for agent, and then show you some of the tips and tricks along the way. And then we'll open up with some Q&A. We have lots of gurus on today, so definitely ask your questions. They should be able to help out, okay? One other thing is, if you are looking for more hands-on training, we did cover this in the last session. We have lots of brand new courses that are available on the Now Learning website. There's a course called Mobile Introduction, and it was built on a Rome instance, and it will give you the fundamentals into learning how to get started using Mobile App Builder. In today's session, we will start using Mobile App Builder, and that is going to be our main development tool moving forward. mobile app builder is built for the citizen developer in mind, and we do plan on showcasing this tool more as we go through future sessions with Academy. Okay. And then Charlie can definitely throw a link in the chat too if you aren't already aware of some of the new courses you can find in Now Learning. But with all of that said, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page on what's happening for Classic deprecation, since this is a huge topic that's coming up this year. But prior to 2019, which was around our Madrid release, we used to have this legacy mobile app called ServiceNow Mobile Classic. And it was essentially just a bunch of web screens that allowed the users to access anything on their instance. And the experience was kind of like just opening up a mobile app on your Safari browser. But do know that this classic app is now on the verge of being deprecated. And we've shared this announcement for quite some time now, so hopefully it's not news for anyone. But the main takeaway here is that we will be removing the classic app from the public app stores starting July of this year. And this just happens to coincide with ServiceNow's Tokyo early access release. So starting July 2022, users will no longer be able to install, update, or download the classic app from the iOS app stores or Android Play stores. And really only pre-existing users who already have the app on their mobile device will still be able to access Classic. New users will no longer be able to install the app on their devices. And we don't plan on investing any more resources in maintaining this app as well. So if there was a major bug that were to break the Classic app after July, there won't be any resources that will go into fixing it. And so we highly recommend that customers do have that July 2022 timeline in mind and to migrate over to our new apps for Agent and Now Mobile as soon as possible. Okay. And then we have additional details that can be found on both our product docs as well as mobile community. We've provided lots of resources and guidance to migrate over to the new mobile apps. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us on mobile community. And of course, in today's session, we're going to be exploring some common use cases to help you plan your mobile migration as well. And of course, to replace the classic experience, if you aren't already aware, we've launched the mobile platform, which is offering 2 native mobile clients for ServiceNow Agent and Now Mobile. And with these clients, we offer over 30 out-of-the-box workflows that can be immediately deployed or be used as a starting basis for your mobile migrations. As we switch from Classic to this new mobile framework, we're now switching over to a more thoughtful mindset when it comes to deploying your mobile use cases. It's not just displaying the entire Now platform to your end users, but really thinking about what are your most important use cases that your users would actually want to do on their phone, right? Whether it's an agent trying to get work done on their agent workspace, or maybe it's an end employee trying to request something from their portal experiences. But here are some of the things that you might want to consider or think about to help you with your migration plan. From your Classic app, what are the primary personas that you're trying to enable? Are your users primarily agents who are using it for like service desk related workflows, such as ITSM incident management or CSM for field service management? Or do you have a larger initiative in getting all your employees access to their service portal experiences, such as employee service delivery, safe workplace, or something else? But once you've defined your largest initiative, this will actually help you determine which client you want to prioritize and roll out first. And if your largest use cases on Classic are mostly driven by your service desk fulfillers, like incident management, case management, work order management, or something similar, then you're likely to start with Mobile Agent, because this is the client that comes with all the out-of-the-box workflows related to your service desk agents. And depending on the line of business that you're trying to enable for, whether it's ITSM technicians or HR help desk, or maybe it's for your field service agents who are out in the field and trying to get work done on their phone, you'll likely be starting with one of our pre-built experiences that's available on this client. Just to give you a couple examples, the ITSM mobile agent plugin, if you install that, it has the pre-built experiences for you to manage your incidents, major incidents, things like that. Or for the field service mobile plugin, that will give you the workflows for your work order management, as well as inventory and asset management, and so forth. And so you'll start with the workflows that best match how your users are currently using the classic mobile app. And this will give you a strong starting point to figure out where your gaps are, okay? And then, of course, on the employee side, and we've done a lot of academies on the Now Mobile side already, so definitely check out our playlist if you haven't seen those 10 plus videos on how you can migrate some classic use cases over to Now Mobile. But on the employee side, if your users are using Classic to request things on their service catalog, or maybe they're trying to view employee-related KVs or manage approvals, then you're likely to start with the Now Mobile app. The out-of-the-box experience that's available for Now Mobile, they all consist of employee-related use cases that you'll find from your service portal experience. This screenshot is just an example of how the employee service delivery plugin took all the core components from Service Portal and then converted it into the Now Mobile app. And you can see that it only targets the most important use cases, like approvals, knowledge, and catalog. Other minor things like system status, for example, that's probably something that's less important to your employee. They're probably not going to use that or want to find that on their mobile device. And so that's left out of the out-of-the-box experience. But the important thing here is that you're exploring all the different out-of-the-box capabilities depending on what you need, so that you can find where your starting point is as you identify the gaps between Classic and the new mobile apps. Okay, and believe it or not, majority of our customers, our out-of-the-box experiences, more often than none, provide majority of the things that they already need from their Classic app. And it's just a matter of configuring a couple forms, tweaking some fields around, or maybe displaying some actions. And we'll cover some of those common use cases in today's session. Okay. And this is just all the different out-of-the-box experiences that are available for each client. You can see on the agent side on the left, those are all the agent focused fulfiller use cases like ITSM, field service, CSM. And then on the employee side for Now Mobile, you can see that these are all the use cases for employee service delivery, safe workplace, onboarding a new hire, things like that. And if there's any workflow that you need more information on, these are all available on the product docs. And you can also consult with your account teams if you ever want a demo of any one of these apps. Okay. And then, we've also released the new developer tool in Rome called Mobile App Builder. This is something that we covered in last session. We did an intro using this tool, and we pointed you to some courses to get some more hands-on experience. So definitely check that out in our YouTube playlist if you haven't already. But we will be using Mobile App Builder in our exercise today, and we're going to configure some common use cases that you might find as gaps as you migrate your own Classic app. One last call out before we jump into our exercises is knowing when to build native versus web. And we've actually did an entire video on just this in our APAS Academy last year. Highly recommend that you revisit this session for a deeper dive. But just from a high level, the idea here is, trying to determine when should you use native screens and components to build workflows, or when to just redirect users to a pre-existing web link that's from platform UI. And of course, we're always going to encourage that you should always configure native workflows where you can for the best end user experience, because native is typically faster, it's much more responsive, and it's much more user-friendly. But there may be a few reasons why customers might decide to just configure a browser screen or maybe a smart button that directs users to a web link. And the first most common reason is when a use case cannot be supported natively. And just to go through a few of these, you might have record producers or catalog items that have client scripting that are not supported today on mobile. And the only way to display it is by using a web screen to open up a URL within the ServiceNow mobile app. Or maybe there's a specific UI form, or there's a web component that isn't supported natively yet. An example of that is multi-row variable sets. And we've used an Academy to show you a workaround on how to display it. Also another very common example is, there are some customers that might have very strict in-app branding requirements, but I've seen it less commonly, but it can be used as a workaround. But let's say that there's a customer that has a very custom branded service portal page and they need it to align with mobile. Otherwise, they can't deploy it and it becomes a roadblock. They might have very custom widgets, custom icons, custom images, and maybe even custom CSS formatting that we just cannot support in Roam yet. And if you run into this scenario, then a possible workaround is just to point the mobile home tab to their web portal page. So as soon as the user logs into their mobile app, it automatically just redirects them to that pre-existing service portal page. But of course, this is just a workaround and you might run into performance issues and other hiccups, but it's worth sharing that it's possible if you do ever run into that situation. Okay. And then a couple other reasons why I've seen customers configure web links inside of the mobile apps. It is one of the easiest ways to configure. If there might be teams with very limited resources, or you might be in a time crunch. So you might consider configuring web links that point to pre-existing workflows. And that might be the fastest path to migration for you, at least for your first pilot, right? As you migrate all of your classic functionality over to the new mobile apps, you can use that as a starting basis and then improve your workflows over time by building more native components and more functionality. But the key idea here is that we want to make sure that our customers who have the intention of building the most optimal mobile experience for their users are taking advantage of our native capabilities where they should be, okay? And so we just wanted to show all of these resources and common use cases to make sure that you're aware of these common workarounds in your own implementations, okay? But with all that said, I think we can jump into our exercises now. For today's session, we're going to cover just some very common, very simple use cases. We'll dive deeper in next week's session. We'll do actions, custom lists, and then future sessions, we might cover filters and so forth. But for today's session, our priority is to migrate some of the basic things from Classic. Our priority today is we're going to say that we're a field service technician. That's the primary use case on the Classic app. And we're trying to migrate over to the ServiceNow Agent app. And we're migrating over to Agent because it has the out-of-the-box workflow for field service mobile. And that will give you your field technicians access to their work order tasks, inventory, KPIs, and so forth. But there may be a few other use cases that are important to my field service team that I might need to expose. And we're going to use Mobile App Builder to fill in those gaps. So for our exercise today, it's going to be essential for our field technicians to do the following. First is having the ability to see their P1 and P2 work order tasks that are assigned to them, right? The second thing is sometimes I've seen customers, try to consolidate use cases between different apps. The ability to request something from the service catalogs, or the ability to show my request. If you've done your research and you're aware, that there's another out-of-the-box app on the Now Mobile side, that capability has already been built out. So all we're going to do is we're just going to reuse that workflow and then expose it into Agent. So I don't actually have to rebuild this workflow from scratch. I'm just going to reuse it and put it in the Agent app. And I'll show you just how easy it is to do that. The great thing about Mobile App Builder is it can configure cross scopes. That was kind of a limitation for Mobile Studio in the past. Studio, you can only configure and move things around whatever was already built inside of that single scope. But with Mobile App Builder, if there's something from the Now Mobile app that I want to use, or there's something from the ITSM Agent app that I want to use, then I can easily pull those into this app. Okay. And then the last thing that I'm going to show is favorites that gets asked very commonly. Although there is something that's unique on how we've fulfilled this gap. We actually built a feature called Saved Views, and it's a little different than favorites, but we can go, I'll explain the difference when I actually show it. So let me go ahead and just show my instance and we'll start building some of these things. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is, the ability to show P1 and P2 work order tasks that are assigned to my agent. A couple plugins that I'll need is, of course, to enable this field service mobile app. I'll need to install that plugin. I already have it installed on my instance, so I'm good to go. But we're also going to want to use Mobile App Builder to configure this. So I've also installed Mobile App Builder, and shown that plugin list in last week's session as well. But I don't think we have to go over there. So the first thing I do is I check out this out-of-the-box app and check out what is currently available to me, right? So this out-of-the-box experience shows me my group tasks, tasks that are on my schedule. I can see there's a task that's assigned to me today. I can see my task on a map, as well as closed tasks, or be able to look up assets. And then underneath this, I also have a list screen that shows me all of my work. And I believe this shows me out of the box all tasks, regardless of the priority. So I think I'm already close to what I need here. This indicates to me that I just have to go into the data item and then modify the query to show the work order tasks that are assigned to me. If I only want to see P1 and P2, then I'll apply that condition. And how I would kind of go at this is I would first think about how do my field service technicians currently work on their desktop experience, right? There's probably some technicians that might use workspace, agent workspace. So I can pull up agent workspace here too. And this will help me decide whether I want to simply just point it to a screen that lives on my platform experience. It'll be like a web version, or do I want to build this native? Of course, native is always going to be faster, a better experience. But I just want to show you why we would go down the native route. So if there was a field technician that was working inside a workspace, they would most likely see, you can see all of their work here, regardless of what table is coming from. And then I think there's this list where you can see all the different tasks that are assigned to this technician. Now, if I wanted to see all work order tasks that were created by me here, I wouldn't be able to simply just take this URL and have mobile point to this. Agent Workspace is actually not supported. You can't just take this link and point to it. You can't, and honestly, probably wouldn't be a great experience either way. So if I wanted to do this, it's not supported, so I can't go down this route. The other way to see work order tasks on platform is to use listen forms, right? So I can also go and look up work order tasks. And I might have favorites. If there's a certain, I think this is how some classic users use it. There might be a filter that they apply to this, and then they add it to their favorites. So let's say I wanted a filter for P1 and P2 instance or task. I'll just simply put in the filter for priority is one of P1 and P2, and then I would run this. And this would show me all of my work order tasks using listen forms. So this is one way that you can definitely show your agents. I would take the link here, and this would be a mobile experience that points to this web view of my listen forms. But if I were to do that, it wouldn't be the greatest experience. I think the best route here would to show this view is to show it on a native list here. So I'll configure both just so they can see both experiences, but I think it's clear that native list would work best here. So I'm going to jump into Mobile App Builder now. I'm going to save this URL. And the first thing I'm going to want to do is open up the application scope for this app. These 3 tabs for Field Service Mobile, or maybe a 4th tab too for my team. These were all built under the Field Service Mobile scope. And I can access all the content that's here inside of the scope. And I simply want to configure this pre-existing list that currently shows me all of my tasks. I just want to configure the data item and apply my custom condition to it. So I know this list screen lives in the My Work launcher screen. So I'm going to look up My Work. And I'm going to open up the launcher screen. And then under this launcher screen, there should be a list screen that's also called My Work. So I'm going to open this up here. There's a list screen here. And then on this list screen, there should be a data item that's associated. And for me to go down deeper, I have to open this record to edit it. So we'll click on this. And then we'll go into the screen segment. If you take a look at the left-hand nav, you can actually see the data item lives underneath the screen segment, underneath the list screen, list string, and then you should be able to access it. But I'll go down the manual route and I'll click further into the list string, and I should be able to access my data item here. So this is a really cool thing about mobile app builder. You can see the hierarchy as you go down each table, and you know exactly where they're associated. Okay, so I have this data item here. I will simply add a new condition. So it's currently showing that's all tasks that are assigned to me, and it's active, and it has a scheduled start date of after February 13th. So I'm just going to add a new condition now. I want to see P1 and P2. So we'll show priority is one of one and two, and then we'll save. So now if I go back and refresh my home screen, I should see this updated list. Saved. Huh. So let's see why it's not being updated. I believe I have the correct list screen open. My work. Field service, that's correct. Work order task, data item. Priority is one of critical events. Adam, any chance? Any thoughts here?
Sorry, I was looking at responding to the chat. What's going on?
Just simple thing. Maybe I'm mislooking at something. I have a my work list screen. I just added a new condition for priorities P1 and P2. Not sure why it's not updated.
Delete. Can you go to the right in your editor pane and delete it?
Oh yeah.
And then go to the right and click on and.
Oh, whoops. So this is what I missed. Okay, here we go. So if this is an or clause, then it doesn't matter if this last condition is true. So we're going to add an and clause. And then now we'll apply priorities. Is one of 1 and 2. Okay. And now this should update my list. There we go. Okay. So this will show me my new updated work. Only the tasks that are really important to me. Okay. And this has the experience here by building it natively. It's much better than on a classic view. I believe on the classic app, it simply just points you to listen forms. And this is the exact view that you would see, right? If you click into this, it's just going to show you so much information that your end user is probably not going to need. So as you build out your screens on this new native framework, it's really thinking about what are those 5, 10 fields that your users really need, right? If out of the box doesn't cover it, then maybe you're going to want to remove or add some fields here. So let's say I wanted to add a field in my details. I would easily be able to do that inside a mobile app builder. I would scroll down on this list screen until I find my record screen. And I have a record screen here. Here's my details. Let's say that there's a field that my technician needs, but it's not currently in the out of the box screen here. I'll just add a new screen field. Let's say we want to add this company area. Yep. Let's add open by, and then we can save. And that now if I refresh this, I should be able to see that new field here. Open by. Content type. Let's go back. Let's see if I added this to the right screen. List screen. There are some times where, if you go to your left-hand navigation and you see that there's not, you don't see the expanded tables underneath this list screen, it's most likely you have to open the record to be able to edit it. It was trying to save some space, so unless you were to click on this, you won't see any tables associated to this list screen. So now if I click into open record, we'll see the expanded content tree here. Okay, so let's scroll down and go back into my details screen. Record screen. Record screen segment, we want to go into the details. So open this. I believe I added a field here, but let's double check. The embedded screens details. Okay, so let's try adding a field here again. Let's bring over open by. And then save. Oh, and there it is. Okay, so at the very top, you can see the field. It's brought over. Now I can move this around if I give it a order. If I want it to show at the very bottom, let's give it order of 2000, and then we can save. And this should push it back down. So, let's go back one screen and see what the other orders are. Oops. If I set this to 1,000, it should push down. Huh. Adam, any chance you know why the order's not updating the field?
Um, we're trying to update a specific input order.
I'm just trying to move this field from the top here to the bottom. All the other fields have an order of less than 1,000, so it should put it down.
Can we go back to the details screen?
Yeah, let's.
Make it updated. And then also close out that error in the top. I just want to make sure. Scroll up to the top of the pane. I would say delete the S just to see if we can click save here on this pan for the name
Delete the S.
right here. And then see, yeah, if you can save that. Are we sure this is the right detail screen?
No, that's a good question. It should be. Let's see. I have my list screen that's open up. That's correct. Going down, data item, list item config, card, record screen. Under this record screen, there's 4 segments for activity stream, related list, and then details here.
Right. Yeah, it looks right. Scroll down to the bottom again. When you click on the order field, the header, so we can resort it. Right here. And click on it again. So technically, oh, that's probably why right there.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
So it looks like you have 2.
So let's set this to 1,000, and I believe that should update it. Perfect. There it is. Okay. So it looks like I actually added the same field twice. So it looks like Mobile App Builder doesn't detect whether you have the same 2 fields. So that's a good troubleshooting technique. So good catch by Adam. Let's go back and delete the extra one. Actually, I don't need to do that. Let's move on to the next exercise. As you're trying to figure out what views and screens your technicians are using on their Classic app, typically the best way to expose that view is by creating a native list screens, right? If I were to just, and I can do this really quickly. If I were to create a browser screen that points to the listen forms, it just wouldn't be a great experience. And we already know that we can't point anything to Agent Workspace, so you can't pull this view up. So it really just limits us to the native list screen. Okay. I'm actually going to move on to the next exercise for the sake of time. What we want to show next is the ability to show my field service technicians, the ability for them to look up or request something from their service catalogs. So, you might have a service portal view. If I go to home, I think I've seen this commonly in customers' Classic apps, but the ability to request something from the service portal and maybe, be able to see KPs as well. But I believe on the out of the box field service app, they already have the ability to view your KPs. So I don't have to do anything here. This is technically an employee use case, but agents can also be employees as well. So if you ever are thinking of consolidating use cases from the Now mobile side and you want to bring it over to agent, it's totally possible with Mobile App Builder. So I can show you how to do this really quickly. If I pull up the Now mobile app, out of the box, it shows you, it gives you the ability to look up your tasks, requests that you have already opened up, access to your KBs, but also the ability to request something from the service catalog. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to borrow this screen, and I'm going to put it into my agent app. Let's say that I want to display it as an icon that's to the right of my asset lookup. And I can do that really quickly if I go to Mobile App Builder. And I simply have to open up. This is a section up here, but we are currently hiding the name of it. But I know that there's a second section called My Work. So this gives me a hint on what this could be. So let's actually go back to the home screen. I'm going to open up the My Work launcher screen. And I'm expecting to see two different sections here. So if I scroll down on my left-hand nav, there is a section called Work. And if I pull this up, so it looks like this is the correct section because I'm seeing 5 different screens for my group tasks, my schedule. So this is where I want to put it. I'm going to create a new screen here. Or no, I'm going to choose an existing screen because I'm not trying to build anything from scratch. And I'm simply going to point it to this out-of-the-box screen from the Now Mobile side. And it's called Browse Services. So we'll look up Browse Services. It looks like there's 2. We'll try this top one first to see if it works. And we'll give it a second to load. But while this loads, so this is the native experience. I think I've seen some customers just point a URL that points here. Again, this isn't going to be your best experience if you just point it to a web page. Here, I can see all of my different categories of catalogs. I can jump into each one. Let's say I want to open up 401k plan enrollment. Your fields aren't going to be crunched up, right? You can add attachments, and there's a native button here for you to be able to submit this really easily as well. So I think native is always the best way to go here. So it looks like it added it. I'll go back to my agent app. If I refresh, I should see that new screen now. Maybe it's not the correct one. Let's see. I have my work, group task schedules, my task. Has to look up browse services. Let's also add the second one and see what happens. Services. But let's save this again. See if that worked. Oh, so it looks like it now brought both. Let's test this first one. And I expect to see all my different categories like I see here. Okay, so you can easily display or give your technicians the ability to go through their catalogs and they're able to reuse what's already been built. I'm going to delete the second one and save again. So I should only see one. Okay. The last thing I want to show is show favorites. I think that was a very common use case on the Classic app. And the reason for it is because Classic users, they're typically using listen forms to look up any record on their instance. So, if they wanted to see work order tasks, they would look up this and then apply a filter, whatever filter that they wanted, and then they would just save it as a screen that they can go back to easily. Now, if there have been questions about, all the favorites that are currently on my Classic app or on my desktop experience, will they automatically migrate over? And the answer to that is no. In Quebec, I believe, we built this new mobile feature called Saved Views. And this is our own mobile table that we use to save screens inside of your agent app or your Now Mobile app. Save Views operates differently. It's a different table, but it still has the same functionality. So let's say that if I open up my group task, this currently shows me all of my different tasks, regardless of priority or whatever. If I wanted to apply the filter here, let's say that I'm only interested in seeing tasks that were in San Francisco. And then apply that filter. Then you can see, this is my new consolidated view of tasks. I can click on this little icon for bookmark. I can name this view. Let's say as San Francisco group task. Click done. And this will actually get saved into this new launcher screen for saved. If I go to more and open this up, this will display all your different saved views. And this is different than favorites. I currently have the favorites that shows me input form screens and so forth, but these won't actually show up on mobile. Okay. So if your users want saved views, they would have to recreate them inside of mobile. And the other drastic difference is they can only make views of what they currently have access to, right? We're not just pointing them to instance and they can just look up anything. They can only make saved views of the screens that they can see inside of mobile apps. So if I wanted to see a saved view of my schedule calendar, I can do that here too. Okay. And then you can sort your saved items as well by recently viewed, new, old, or alphabetical as well. Okay. So that was a very simple intro into classic migration. There's so much more that we need to cover, like how do you create actions? How do you create your own list screens from scratch? But we'll dive deeper in a future session. So I'm going to take a quick break and ask if there's any questions that we want to highlight. Adam, were there any interesting questions that we want to pull from chat?
I think we got some just general questions about other things.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, we had questions around UI rules and the new cards. There was a question around enhancing an out-of-the-box smart button, which should use either the legacy input form screen, or if that doesn't work for the use case, we can try looking at the new input form screen, which should work. But yeah, I think just general questions.
Great. Okay. If there's no other questions, then we'll go and wrap up. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Again, it's great to be back for this year, for 2022. We're gonna have more follow-up sessions on classic migration. It's gonna be a 3 or 4 part series. In next week's session, we're gonna cover actions. And a great way to share feedback with us so that we're making sure these topics are relevant to you is by letting us know in our post-survey session. The survey should pull up as soon as you close out your Zoom tab, but it's going to ask you, what topics you want us to explore in the future. And we love getting feedback from all of you to make sure that these topics are relevant to you each week. So definitely let us know. Also, if you're new to our Academy series, just a reminder that all of these are available on YouTube as well as mobile community. So make sure to subscribe to our community forums and register to our App Academy series. With all of that said, thank you all for joining us today, and we hope to see you again in 2 weeks. We'll cover classic migration for actions, and we hope to see you there. Thanks, everyone.